wave. Tripping off the when the gone. Run it up, make a play. Goddamn, that's a lot of bass. It's the summertime, I keep wanting mine. Tryna live good, I don't want the drama. I be biking it, I be macking it like a Mexican. I be stacking the chips, don't compare him, don't you dare him. Me falling off, man, that's real slam. I might AP, I might DP, I might dub P. I'm a real P, I don't perk it all, I just smoke weed. Gotta feel me, cause I'm so me. Yeah, gotta feel me, cause I'm so me. Cause I'm so me, cause I'm so me. I don't perk it all, I just smoke weed.
KBLA Talk 1580. I got some Larry June for your summer vibes this morning. And I'm really excited to welcome in one of the people I love to talk to because she's got a lot of info and a lot of smarts. She spent her career advocating and expanding opportunities for working families. She's a migrant and educator, a mother to a son with special needs. And she is a Chair Emeritus, I should say, of the California Progressive Caucus. She's also an environmental justice activist. Fatima Iqbal-Zubair, good morning.
Good morning. Good to be here with you.
Yeah, good to have you on. There seems like a lot of things have happened since last time you were on here.
Yeah.
And we're probably not going to ever have time to go over all of them. But let's start where we kind of were, because you know a thing or two about a thing or two. In politics, the gerrymandering conversation we've been having, some folks think the governor's wrong to try to usurp the authority of an independent redistricting commission. I feel like if we sit here and do nothing and allow Republicans to get a permanent majority in the House of Representatives, we're idiots. I'm not sure where you are on this.
Yeah, when I first heard about it, we pride ourselves on independent redistricting, but, really thinking about what that really means in terms of what Texas is doing and what that would mean for, what the federal government can do in terms of undermining our rights. I mean, we have to think of the bigger picture here. So I'm leaning in agreement sort of with, and I think what California is taking to the voters, right, what I'm hearing is, I think a good idea because it's about the bigger picture here, right? They're not playing on an even playing field. And so,
Yeah, I mean, we already don't have an even playing field. We do not get enough bang for our buck. We send tons of money to Washington and we get some money back. We subsidize all of these red states. We subsidize Broco, Mississippi, and, no people have in Montana. We already have to do that. On top of that, we should have more than 2 senators because we got all the people. But we have a crooked system that only gives 2 senators to each state. On top of that, we have the Electoral College, which dilutes our clout. Cali should have way more clout compared to what we do. So for me, there's some poetic justice in us saying, oh yeah, you gonna do that, we gonna do it too, and you'll regret the day, because there's so many, very many different ways in which California does not get the clout that it should have in this country based on our economic contribution, the number of people who are here, and that's not even counting our innovation and entertainment imprints.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, so I think it's something we definitely have to, to consider, and I think all those things you mentioned, but I think like with all the threats we're seeing, to Black and brown communities, to working class people, it's just really scary. People are really, it's easier to fall into poverty now. It's easier to, just lose our basic rights. I think it's really scary. We have to make sure that we are.
Yeah, I'm getting some breaking up
this,
on your phone. I'm not sure if we can fix that. The cell phone is going in and out. But
it is. Okay.
So this idea that it is scary. There's a lot of scary things happening, but I also feel that fear is part of the problem. I think fear is what delivered terrible results in our last election here locally in California, but we saw it happening across the country, right? with people
Mm-hmm.
clawing back progressive wins, getting rid of progressive prosecutors and putting in these draconian old school district attorneys, taking back some of the gains that we saw in criminal justice reform. And so how do we deal with the objective conditions and really be mindful of the obstacles and challenges that we have to deal with without getting sucked into being fearmongers? I don't want to be a fearmonger.
Yeah, no, I exactly. And I think you're absolutely right. And I think that that's why we have to consider, kind of playing in the part that they're making, right? If they're going to redistrict, we have to consider that too, because we're doing it for aims to protect people, right?
Yeah.
And I think it's the way we message it. It's what what we're fighting for. We're not doing it to be unfair, but it's that our politics has gotten so, polarizing right now, and that it's gotten so, where, like basic rights are being threatened and all these things are being threatened. So we have to fight.
Yeah, that's a thing that I decided we were going to do every day, one way or another, not the same, but every day around here, I want us to pledge to be courageous, because if we crumble, if we preemptively surrender, if we capitulate when we haven't even been challenged yet, then we're cooked. I think, and also, who wants to live like that? So my pledge is to be fearless. To me, fearless is the way forward.
Exactly. I agree.
Yeah. So when you talk about fighting, the flood the zone is in effect at the moment, right? I was just reporting on how The Intercept has this great article on this pending executive order that's still being worked through, where ICE agents, new recruit ICE agents, will have loan forgiveness, but they're getting rid of the loan forgiveness for nonprofits that work for the government, for teachers. All these other loan forgiveness programs are going away. So if you want to get rid of your student loan now, you have to become an ICE agent. That's just one. That's like the ridiculous, outraged story du jour, right? So in fighting, how do you pick your battles?
Yeah, that's a loaded question, Dominique. And I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but I think, I don't know, what I think about is that, and I think what's always been inspiring with community is that, folks are fighting in so many capacities, whether it's our reproductive rights, right? Whether it's our immigrant rights and, the work that, you have local patrols happening, right? Nonprofits as well, but also just local people looking out for each other. Right. And I always think when when we have our jobs, we have our families, we can't fight on every front. No one can fight on every front. But where can we find a place where we can contribute? I think that's what it's really all about, because we keep each other safe. And so that's what comes to mind for me when we think about how do we fight back? What do we pick? Because I think, individually, I or you can't fight every single fight, but we can, contribute where we can, and we can be part of this larger picture. And I think that's what's really powerful. So that's what I would say, So I know in my community, there's a harbor patrol happening where folks are, monitoring early morning, where ICE is coming out and reporting it. And I find that really inspiring, right? These folks have, day jobs, but, they're waking up early to do that for their community. So we need more of that. And I think we need to figure out where is the space that we can contribute. But, it's not okay to sit back and do something, if we're all getting impacted, or if we're not, our neighbors are getting impacted. And so we need to find a place we can, chip in.
I think it's a good example, because sometimes doing something all the time, doing something to help somebody else, dissipates fear and gives inspiration and energy around whatever you're trying to do. Whatever you're trying to overcome. So I love that example. And that might not be your example. You go march, do something. Do you think these 51 marches and rallies are making a difference?
It's a good question. It's something I've actually thought about as an organizer too. I think hope comes to mind, right? I step back and I think outside of myself sometimes, right? Some of us that are activists, we want to be doing something and making change. But Dominique, you got to remember, there's so many people that are just in their homes, maybe not as activated yet, but just feeling really hopeless. Yeah. Right. And so I think the marches are needed for people to bring them together to give them hope, because if we don't have hope, if we lose hope, we're not even going to go to the next step and say, okay, well, what can I do to help myself, my family? Right. And so I think those of us that have sort of, more, where we've been sort of fighting and we have the privilege, right, to give the time to help, ourselves and others even more. Let's do more, right? What can we do to, contribute, financially to an organization like Churla, or what can we do to contribute to Planned Parenthood, right?
Or Baji.
Fight in politics.
Or Baji, if you're concerned about, Black immigrants,
Exactly. Yes.
There's lots of immigrant organizations that aren't strictly, anyway.
Yeah, well, thank you for naming that. That's very important. Yeah, and, but I think, to answer your question, the rallies and marches, everyone's at a different level is what I'm trying to say, right? So some folks are feeling hopeless. And so going to something like that, there's a great sense of solidarity, right? And then we can take the next step and sort of we can do something else. And, we can even be involved politically, advocate to our Congress people, right? Folks forget that all of these people have phone numbers, right, that we can flood their offices with, right? We can also vote them out, right? We can, rally good, so there's things we can do kind of, I see it as different tiers, but, the first thing is not losing hope. And I think the rallies are important for that, to create that sense of solidarity. So people feel, okay, well, there's all these people that care about the same things I do. So what can I do next,
Yeah, and that you're not alone. I mean, you're not alone. I think that's an important point right now. We're talking with Fatima Iqbal-Zubair. When we come forward, we got a lot of stuff to touch on, but I do want to hear your thoughts about the California governor's race. Kamala Harris is not running. LA Times says there's basically no front runner. Love to hear your thoughts on that and more. And by the way, you're invited to call in KBLA delegation 800-920-1580, 800-920-1580. Don't be a stranger. I'm Dominique DiPrima, and you know where you are.
She's reclaiming her time on KBLA Talk 1580. More First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Good morning, Doctor.
Doctor?
Hi, Doctor.
Doctor?
Dr. Jackson's practice is growing.
What do you mean we're still short-staffed?
He needs a good patient doctor.
How do we not have enough doctors to doctor all these patients?
And he doesn't have the patience to sift through hundreds of resumes.
I need Indeed.
Indeed you do. When you sponsor a job on Indeed, it's easier for talented candidates to find it, which makes it easier for you to hire them. Visit Indeed.com/credit and get $75 towards your first sponsored job. Terms and conditions apply.
Are you wet shaving? You'll get razor bumps.
Nah, Pops. I'm good with Gillette Skin Guard. How long you been growing that beard Mama hates anyway?
Since 77. I shaved and got ingrown so bad.
That's why I use the Gillette Skin Guard razor, face scrub, shave gel, and moisturizer. So I don't have to worry about new razor bumps or shaving irritation.
Gillette Skin Guard, huh? Your mama's gonna love this one.
The best a man can get keeps getting better with Gillette Skin Guard. Buy now at a retailer near you.
Oh, could this vintage store be any cuter?
Right? And the best part? They accept Discover.
Accept Discover? In a little place like this? I don't think so, Jennifer.
Oh, yeah, huh? Discover's accepted where I like to shop. Come on, baby, get with the times.
Right. So we shouldn't get the parachute pants?
These are making a comeback. I think.
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2025 Nielsen report.
This is the story of the one. As a safety manager at a manufacturing plant, he does everything he can to keep his coworkers safe. From finding ways to reduce risks to keeping safety supplies in stock. And for that, he relies on Grainger. Grainger offers a broad range of quality products and next-day delivery, so he can always play it safe. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
An official message from Medicare.
I turned 65 this year. I knew it was time to figure out Medicare, and I had questions, like when to enroll and how to enroll. So I went straight to the official source, Medicare.gov, to get the facts about Medicare. I found answers to all my questions, and I'm ready to get started. And so can you. Just go to Medicare.gov to get the real facts about Medicare.
Paid for by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services.
y'all. Come on. Pick up the drum.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we fight the power every day.
Yeah, gotta give us what we want. Gotta give us what we need. Hey.
I listen to KBLA and I love the commercials. I know what the commercials mean. I also, if I'm looking and trying to figure something out, I need something to talk to me that might hit me. And it happens on TV because, you know, every time they show a sporting event, they got the pharmaceutical companies back to back to back telling people how to fix the sickness on the same stuff that they sell them. So we get it.
Yep, we get it too, Chuck D. And that's why at KBLA Talk 1580, we don't black down.
Drop it! Our freedom of speech is freedom of death. We got to fight the powers that be. Fight the power! Fight the power!
Thanks for starting your morning off with a voice that speaks truth to power and the powerless, getting to the heart of what matters most in our community. This is where authentic conversation meets real action. From breaking news and politics to culture and community solutions, this is where you hear perspectives you won't hear anywhere else. This is where we come together, get informed, and make change happen. You're inside First Things First with Dominique DiPrima on KBLA Talk 1580.
Good morning, sunshine. You make my day.
The conversation continues right now with Dominique DiPrima on First Things First.
Right now I'm talking with Fatima Iqbal-Zubair. She is on because she is a progressive activist, of Chair Emeritus of the Progressive Caucus in California and a political observer. But also you happen to be running for the state assembly, correct?
Yes.
So in what district are you running?
It's District 65.
You know, my my election hat is off, although I guess I need to put it back on because we are definitely coming up on that season. All the fundraisers are back, and it's almost like they never left. So, you know, that's the seat, by the way, that used to be occupied by Mike Gibson, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So, well, out there where you be at. Is he termed out, or is he running against? Are you running against him?
No, he's termed out.
Okay.
So his term ends in 2026.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, and Gibson is African American. You're not African American. I don't know. How would you characterize yourself besides progressive? I mean,
right. Yeah. I mean. Yeah, I consider myself like a Sri Lankan Moor, so I'm Muslim, you know, minority in Sri Lanka, South Asian, immigrant. So I would say I would characterize myself that way.
So, I mean, I kind of say that partly to say that you stay plugged in with state politics here, probably more than most. And Kamala Harris finally said, nope, she's not doing it. She's not running for governor. So, according to the LA Times, there's no front runner, although they kind of give the edge to Katie Porter. She's got a pretty big war chest, but she's not the only one. Ilani Kalinakis has a lot of money. Apparently, Villaraigosa has a pretty good amount of dough. Surprisingly, I'm surprised that former Health and Human Services Secretary Javier Becerra doesn't have more cash on hand. And I was really surprised to see Betty Yee not having more since she's a former treasurer. What are your thoughts? Is there a forerunner? Do you have a preference? How is this all shaking out now that Kamala Harris is no longer a factor?
Yeah, that was pretty big when she made that announcement. I know everyone was waiting for that. I mean, I think the field is it's a large field, first of all. There's still a lot of time. I think for me as a progressive, as someone, what that means is someone really standing up, right, for California, for working class Californians, for Black and Brown communities, against this federal administration. We need someone that's going to, not, pledge to corporations, right, to not, to stand up, right, to the people that have hurt our communities and stand up to Trump and, this Congress. And so, I haven't personally supported anyone yet, but those are the values I'm going to be looking for. Dominique, I'm excited to see the debates as well that happen. I want to see how they answer questions, on really tough issues and how authentic they are, and I think that is really important. And, just to allude to sort of the huge victory of, Zohran Mamdani, right, the Democratic nominee in New York. I mean, I think, speaking to the issues people are experiencing on the ground are really important.
Yeah.
You know what? I are sick of.
Sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Folks are
No,
sick
I was going
of.
to say, just folks, I think, sick of just hearing the same old talking points, right? They want to
Yeah.
hear solutions. They want to hear that people really mean it.
Yeah, I just want to
Mhm.
make a correction here. Javier Becerra
Mm.
apparently does have a lot of money. It's $2.4 million on hand.
Mhm.
To
Mm.
Katie Porter's $3 million, to
Mm.
Chad Bianco, who is the MAGA sheriff out in the Inland Empire, has $1.6 million on hand, and he has been endorsed by a bunch of sheriffs all over the state. These little cowboy hat dudes, the MAGA mini MAGA sheriff dudes, including the sheriff of San Francisco, who's an Asian guy. So I was wrong about Becerra, but I also wasn't tracking how well Bianco was doing, considering he probably doesn't have a chance of winning. Although I guess you never know. And I forgot Tony Atkins and Tony Thurman, who is way down at the bottom in terms of fundraising with just $70,000. You ain't gonna statewide office is really expensive in California, right?
Yes. I mean, honestly, Dominique, when you start reading off those numbers, I've been a candidate, I am a candidate, and the thing that came to mind is how do we end Citizens United, get big money out of politics? How do we get public financing? In so many other countries and places around the world, you have a certain number of days to campaign. Everyone has the same amount of cash. And so you can really just focus on the issues and who's getting out there and doing the work of talking to people, right? What a concept, right? It should be like that. We need to do what we can in California to, make it as close to clean money as possible, because it's ridiculous that, you do need a lot of money, and especially statewide office, it's like, it's ridiculous how much,
it's a big
how much
state.
money you need.
You have
Mhm.
to have TV, unless you're already
Mhm.
so famous, unless you're Arnold Schwarzenegger and everyone already knows who you are. But even then, what do you stand for? I mean, if we're going by money, it's going to be, Porter and Becerra. But a lot can change. Like you said, it's still early, and Harris just got out. Were you happy that she got out of the race? Were you one of those people that didn't want to see her run?
I will say I have a kind of a nuanced approach on this. Like, I think when she ran for president, she had an unfairly short runway. I believe the country is still sexist and racist in many ways, right? So there's that. But the thing that I really wish that I want the Democratic Party to move towards, which I think that she could have done better on, right, is really, talking about sort of these issues in a way people are experiencing it and not being afraid to, right? And whether that was the advice of consultants or herself or her team, that was something I was sort of disappointed in. And I do think, and, not just for the sake of what I care about, I think for the sake of if we want to win, right, as Democrats, right, we have to speak to the issues that people are really experiencing and not be afraid to say we stand for things like clean air, we stand for things like affordability and to, get big money out of politics. We can't be a party that says, that we are taking the same amount of money from these billionaires in many ways, right? And say, oh, well, we're against Elon Musk. Like, we have to really fundamentally not just stand against Elon Musk, but show that, we are not going to fund our party through these, evil sort of, means of money and corporations, right?
Yeah.
So, I am happy in that sense, because I feel like she could have sort of run on that message, stronger. So
Morris Phillips in the chat says Katie Porter is a front runner for governor of California. And Kwame Allah asks, is Barbara Lee running for governor? No, she just won. She just won mayor of Oakland, first black woman to get that. Oakland needs a lot of help. I think she's got her work cut out for her there. We just got a minute here before news, traffic, and sports, but you touched on Mamdani in New York, and I think it's also the Democratic Party. That's a perfect example of how the Democratic Party is losing, because they refuse to lean in to progressive wins, policies, candidates. They refuse to lean in to the energized wing of the doggone party.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think you said it. I don't know if I want to add anything more. I agree with that. And I think that's what I keep saying. This is not a, radical lefty idea, right? Or like a crazy socialist idea. It's nothing to do with that. I just want to reiterate that we have to speak to what people are experiencing or we're going to lose. It's as simple as that.
I mean, but even if it is a socialist idea, Mondami has said he's a socialist, but he got the win. And
Right.
and now the Democratic Party seems
Right.
like they're doing more to undermine him than the Republicans. He got the win. You like it or you don't like it, that's what your party members voted for in New York City,
Yeah.
which has a gigantic Jewish population.
Mm-hmm.
So, and this is a Muslim man. Suck it up. Let's go.
Right.
Let's
But
win.
he's so scared. Dominique, he's scary because he's tackling the billionaires and corporations and the 1%. That is what it is.
Well-
and we have to, as a party, accept that that's a good thing to do, not a bad thing.
Yeah, we're talking with Fatima Iqbal-Zubair. You're also invited in. News, traffic, and sports, then more, only right here.
The station you turn to when you've had it up to gear with cultural incompetence. KBLA Talk 1580.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has ordered the arrest of over 50 Democratic lawmakers who fled the state to block a GOP redistricting vote. Black Texas Democrat Congressman Al Green said he'll keep fighting.
We're taking a stand and we're going to prevent them from going forward in Texas.
The move stalls a map that could flip 5 seats. Crime continues to fall in New York City. NYPD stats show a 5.6% drop in overall crime in July, with murders down nearly 50%, but reported rapes rose over 33%. Black Mayor Eric Adams and Commissioner Tisch say they're working to keep the numbers trending down. And comedian Cat Williams is hitting the links as an on-course correspondent for the FedEx St. Jude Championship in Memphis, Tennessee. He'll walk with a marquee group Thursday and Friday, bringing laughs and insight alongside ESPN's Michael Collins. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Is your concrete cracking? Is your uneven walkway dangerous? Do you need to level that concrete porch or patio? Contact Groundworks, the concrete lifting experts. Riverside, get your free inspection today. Learn more at groundworks.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
Just in case Lakers fans were wondering, LeBron James did reach out to Luka Doncic to congratulate him on his contract extension. LeBron did a video call with Doncic while Doncic was signing a new 3-year deal for $165 million. LeBron and Luka will get a chance to play an entire season together. The Lakers were 16-7 last season when LeBron and Luka were on the court. Chargers linebacker Denzel Perryman is out of jail after spending the weekend locked up for having 5 guns in his car, including 2 assault-style rifles. The 32-year-old Perryman was released late Monday afternoon. Perryman was stopped by Inglewood police on Friday for having expired tags on his car. He was scheduled to appear at the Inglewood courthouse Tuesday morning, but LA County District Attorney Nathan Hochman decided not to file charges. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson. More news, opinions, and conversation when we come forward on KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Nearly 7 million Americans aged 65 and older are living with Alzheimer's disease or AD. But did you know that Black adults aged 65 and older are twice as likely as white adults to develop AD? You may be able to reduce your risk by managing conditions like diabetes and high blood pressure, being physically active, eating healthy, and exercising your mind. To learn more about AD, the importance of early diagnosis and intervention, and a potential treatment option, visit treatalzearly.com. That's treatalzearly.com. This message is brought to you by AZI.
Your child is 18, and suddenly you no longer have legal access to their medical info, even in an emergency. No health decisions, no financial help, nothing, unless you plan ahead. That's why Trust and Will created the Young Adult Plan. It includes HIPAA authorization, healthcare directives, and power of attorney. Everything your child needs to stay protected and stay connected. Go to trustandwill.com and get your Young Adult Plan for just $69. Because turning 18 shouldn't mean cutting parents out of the picture. Trust and Will is an online estate planning service. See website for details.
Trust and Will.
Some things can steal your sunshine. Ugh, I just got my hair done.
Sorry, the cooler's broken. Anyone see my flip-flops? Anyone?
But COVID-19 can steal a lot more.
I just took a COVID test. Ugh.
Prescription medications for COVID exist. If you test positive this summer, ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit Pfizerforall.com/COVID-19 to learn more. Sponsored by
The following
Pfizer.
is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-868-6431, 800-868-6431, and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
Become a U.S. citizen with the help of the Los Angeles Public Library. Get free and confidential information on immigration and citizenship. Visit lapl.org/NAI to find your nearest library or call us at 213-228-7390. That's lapl.org/NAI or 213-228-7390 and start your path to becoming a U.S. citizen with the help of the Los Angeles Public Library. Call 213-228-7390 or visit lapl.org/NAI.
Hey, it's Matt, your leaf filter trusted pro. Gutters are an often neglected part of the home. They're also one of the most important. Clogged, overflowing gutters can cause serious problems like foundation damage or basement flooding, which can cost thousands of dollars to fix. Let's face it, cleaning gutters yourself is not only a hassle, it can be dangerous. But when you get Leaf Filter, you'll never have to worry about cleaning clogged gutters again. Get started today by visiting leaffilter.com/deal to schedule your free inspection. If you decide to move forward, we'll professionally clean, realign, and seal your gutters before installing our patented stainless steel micro mesh system. Leaf Filter keeps out everything but the water. And it's backed by a lifetime transferable no clogs warranty. So you're protected for good. We're in your neighborhood and ready to help. Visit Leaf Filter today for a free inspection and estimate, and you could save up to 30%. Visit leaffilter.com/deal. That's leaffilter.com/deal.
Broadcasting live from Leimert Park, USA. Welcome back to your home for unapologetically progressive radio. KBLA Talk 1580.
Yes, indeed. Welcome back. Fatima Iqbal-Zubair is my guest today, and I always love having you in. One thing we haven't had a chance to touch on today, well, there's a million things, but one that we talked about last time was Gaza. And I know you have real strong feelings about this, but now it seems like finally this has captured the public consciousness nationally. You're seeing Canada and France and the UK and others saying they will recognize Palestine as a country. The UK maybe, but the rest of them saying they will. And more countries are following suit. There is lots of public outcry about the starvation, the famine that's happening there. On the other hand, Washington Post today, owned by Jeff Bezos, I would add, has a big article, Momentum Builds Toward Netanyahu's Plan to Occupy All of Gaza. How do you see this? It seems like two almost incongruous movements. On the one hand, more people asking for aid, asking for sovereignty, recognition of sovereignty. On the other hand, Trump and Netanyahu seem to be determined to make Gaza into Disneyland.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just appalled. I don't really have any words for that. But I think the thing that I also want to point out is, I think Senator Bernie Sanders had, a resolution, right, to stop offensive arms, and it got it got a lot of votes in the Senate, and that's also, I think, very historic. I think, I want to say it's a forced starvation, right? There's so many famines happening around the world, and this is one that the U.S. can actually play a very real part in. I mean, I think they could really end, a lot of things around the world if they really wanted to with the power we have, but I'm just appalled, that, this is still being allowed to happen, and, on our watch and with our money. And I think that's our taxpayer money. And I think that's what people need to realize. That's money that could be put into housing here and, healthcare and all the things, that we need, instead of starving children, right? Instead of being complicit in this. And I think, we have to do everything we can to advocate again. We can call our Congress people, we can participate in elections, right? To make sure we have people that speak to our values. Because here's the thing, right? We talked a lot about how, we need to speak to what people are experiencing on the ground here. And we need to fund those things, right? And we can't be funding those things if we are funding, killing people overseas. I mean, that's just the bottom line. And so, that's the way I look at it.
Yeah, it is about priorities, partly. It's also about morality, which you also, you outline that too. It is ironic that Israeli citizens have lots of things that we don't have, like free college, because we can't afford it because we're too busy paying for bombs for them to kill people and starve people. Those are things that doesn't seem to be at all in alignment with America First, and does seem to be causing a little bit of fracturing in MAGA world even.
Yeah, and I think this isn't the thing. I just want to address something, right? A lot of folks say, Israel's the only democracy in the Middle East. You mentioned things like free and accessible college, right? And this is, when we're criticizing sort of, what our government or the government of Israel is doing, this has nothing to do with, what are the tenets of, how people live and, criticizing the people living there at all, right? But at the end of the day, we need to have, freedom means freedom for all and freedom everywhere and for everything, right? And the thing that's also true, right, Dominique, is that in Israel there is a system that is an apartheid system, right? So if you are of a religion and you have more privilege, right, than someone else living there, and that's a system that I think Ta-Nehisi Coates talks about in his book, and I think it's really important to acknowledge that freedom is freedom for all and freedom everywhere, and so I think. I
mean, that's what former President Jimmy Carter got so much heat for. Just like I was saying yesterday, does South Africa get to say, I told you so now, that everyone's recognizing this as a genocide? Does Jimmy Carter from the other side get to say, I told you so, for naming this an apartheid state and taking so much heat for it? And it is true, Paul Lee says in the chat, that they also have universal health care in Israel, but we can't afford it, but we're subsidizing them. Make it make sense. Right. We're paying for your bombs, but we won't pay for our citizens' medicine. This makes zero sense to me.
Yeah, and if I can just put it, it's that whole concept of special interests, right? Who's really running our government? And I think we have to really look at what are the interests of sort of serving the American people, to your point, right?
Yeah.
How do we get them the resources they need? And here's the thing: if we want to be, do-gooders in the world, there are real ways we can end poverty. In places like Sudan, Congo, Gaza, all of these places.
Well,
right?
yeah, some of those just disappeared. I mean, the good side of USAID just disappeared. So it's ironic that you would be saying that right now.
Yes, no, you're right. I mean, there's more fundamental changes we need to fight for and bring back to even allow that to happen. You're right. Yeah. But I mean, when, God willing, we get our government to a good place, like those are the kind of things we could be helping the world with. Right. So.
Yeah. And could, and the crazy thing is it's such a tiny portion of our budget to do that help. You know, the things that we've taken away through USAID now, it's less than 1% of the U.S. budget. Meanwhile, I don't know what percentage we spend on wars for other folks, but I know that our defense budget is close to 40% of what we spend, which is insane. In any case, I feel like you pointed out that there was a vote taken in Congress to end these defensive weapons, offensive weapons, which would mean still, I guess, funding their Iron Dome or, you know, their defense strategies, but not their offense strategies. I was really disappointed to see some of the folks that voted against that and surprised. People that call themselves progressives like Cory Booker that actually voted against this. And that leads me back to the conversation we were talking about right before News, Traffic, and Sports. What does it really mean to be a progressive? And will the Democratic Party ever lean into a Zoran Mondami or, you know, I was going to say an AOC, but I'm pretty sure she voted against that too.
Yeah, the vote I think came up in the Senate, but so I don't know if you had an opportunity to vote on it. But you know what's coming to mind, Dominique, is folks like Cory Booker. I'm just going to say it, are progressive in name only, right? Because, like, I truly believe what that word means is you stand up for all human rights. You stand up against special interest corporations for working people, for marginalized communities, and to me, that's what it means. And you know, will the Democratic Party get there? Well, if they want to win, I mean, if they learn anything, right? I mean, they have to understand these are issues voters want. It's how Trump won, right? You know, you speak to issues people are experiencing and you solve those problems. I mean, it's not rocket science, you know. And so I hope they do. And I hope that the party, you know, I can't say this enough. I hope they acknowledge the influence of, you know, big money, you know, whether it's foreign interests or whether it's, you know, pharmaceutical money, right? Or whether it's, you know, oil money or, you know, policing money, all of that special interest money, right? So whatever it is, I hope we seriously consider that if we say we want to stand for these things, that the way we fund ourselves and the solutions and policies we bring forward reflect that.
Yeah, I guess the AOC criticism was coming from her voting against Marjorie Taylor Greene's amendment, which was supposedly going to block spending for the Iron Dome. So that is a separate issue. But to your point, I mean, you look at a Cory Booker, Senator Booker. I mean, he supports reparations. One of the few Congress people willing to put that forth. That was Booker and Presley, who backed the latest iteration of H.R. 40. Now, that's not going to pass because Republicans control both houses of Congress. But as a Black American, that sounds progressive to me, right? So then, and then we see this other side. So you say progressive in name only, but, you know, where's the line?
Yeah, and I think what it is like, here's the thing, Dominique, that the concept of, and, you know, the practice of intersectional justice is what's really important, right? 100%. It is amazing, you know, that he is one of the few willing to fight for reparations. But it's not a, you know, exclusionary thing, right? Like that we can fight for all of these things because of who we are as America, how much resources we have and what we stand for, right? And so we have to hold our electeds accountable. We can say it's great that you stand up for that. That is something, you know, our community, the Black community needs, right? But we need you to do better here, right? And we need to question that too. And I think that is also what, you know, as Americans we need to do, because here's the thing, right? And, you know, coming back to the point of, you know, situations like Gaza and situations, you know, where Cory Booker is not standing up, that's also affecting Black Americans, right? That's also affecting our communities like healthcare and housing, you know, and day-to-day living. And so all of these things are important and we should demand all of those things as Americans.
Yeah, well, I mean, ideally, yes. And in politics, as we talked about earlier, there's money, you know, there's who's making contributions. There's other pressures that we probably don't see. There's the horse trading. I'll do this for you if you do that for me. And so how do we, the voters, you know, I feel like I have this term I call progressive posers. I feel there's tons of progressives in name only. Tons. It's just a thing that people say, which has no, what are the metrics? And so, you know, what does that leave us? Even if you were progressive going into office, I feel like a lot of people get there and they do something else.
And they forget. Yeah. I think, so what I think voters need to look at is the track record, number one, right? Where have folks stood on the issues, even when it's politically difficult? Where have they shown up? So that's number one. And I think number two, yes, you're right. When folks get in office, even if they have that track record, right? When they get in office, they're going to slip, right? And no one's perfect, right? I mean, anyone can slip, right? And that happens. We're all human. But I think that's where democracy comes in. That accountability is important for, you know, that elected, right? And I think that's hopefully what pushes them. But I think we as voters can do much as we can when we vote to see, okay, I'm seeing all of these mailers, you know, it's confusing because people are saying, I'm progressive. Well, what is each person's track record, right? Have they shown up with you when it's been even politically difficult, or have they not? And I think that's what people need to look at. Yeah.
Well, that requires a lot of reading and paying attention. What do they actually do when they got there? Although it feels like we're paying a little bit more attention now because of the 12 kinds of crazy that we have going on, not just in this country, but really internationally. Do you notice, you're a hijabi, you wear your hijab, you're Muslim, but you're very, you know, obviously public about it in a sense. Are you noticing a different environment of emboldened hate? Are you getting pushback, feedback? Are you experiencing anything like that in this moment?
I think I'm really lucky to live in South LA, number one, and I think that's why I haven't experienced that. I think there are parts of our county and even in our state that where if I were to live in a different part, I would, right? Because I think Republicans and folks that are, have those racist. I'm just going to say racist tendencies, but who are racist are feeling emboldened now, right? But I think I'm very lucky, right, to live in the South LA community because our community is Black and brown. Our community is made up of, of working class, lower income people who are not like that. And I think I'm just saying I'm lucky. And so right now, like, I don't. Now my parents live in Texas, so, when I visit there, I do get, more looks now and all of that. But, but I just feel very blessed to live in the community I live in.
We're talking with Fatima Iqbal-Zubair, and you're invited in always at 800-920-1580. I'm Dominique DiPrima for KBLA Talk 1580.
More of First Things First with Dominique DiPrima when we come forward.
Hi, I'm Jesse Jackson Jr., inviting you to join me weekdays at 12 noon right after Tavis Smiley here on KBLA Talk 1580. As a law school graduate and a theologian with a firm grasp of our body politic given almost 2 decades in Congress, my show is the fresh new home of an authentic, uncompromised quest for transformation and salvation, both personal and collectively, as I vigorously interrogate the theological and symbolic meanings embedded in our society. I promise to leverage my knowledge of history, theology, and both international and domestic issues to imagine an inclusive vision for the future, which I hope will inspire all of us to pursue life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness as a given, not just an aspiration. So join me weekdays at 12 noon right after Tavis Smiley for 2 hours of the Jesse Jackson Jr. Show only on KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
Imagine a Los Angeles where everyone can thrive, where communities have access to the resources they need to succeed. That's the vision of Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. They're dedicated to improving life in LA County by providing educational support, employment assistance, and spaces for community engagement. By 2050, they want LA to be the best place to connect, create, learn, live, and play. They're working toward an education system that's well-resourced and culturally responsive, becoming a hub for artists and innovators, and making sure everyone has access to healthy food, quality healthcare, and safe housing. It's about building a future where we all have the chance to succeed. We invite you to learn more about their mission and get involved with Detours Mentoring Group, Inc. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you that we keep us safe. Every girl deserves a chance to shine. That's the belief behind Forgiving for Living, Inc. Since 1999, this organization has been empowering at-risk girls ages 13 to 18, helping them overcome behavioral and mental health challenges. Founder Wendy Gladney's personal journey inspired the mission to give girls hope and purpose through the power of forgiveness. Through their ambassador program, workshops, and annual conference, Forgiving for Living has touched over 3,000 young lives, providing mentoring, life skills, training, and tools for building self-esteem and confidence. You can make a difference. Visit forgivingforliving.org to donate, volunteer, become a mentor, or find help for a young girl in need. Forgiving for Living, Inc., building brighter futures for young girls. Visit forgivingforliving.org today. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
This is KBLA Talk 1580, where hate meets a scholarly match.
Fatima Iqbal-Zubair is my guest. Progressive Caucus Chair Emeritus for the state of California. President Trump did a whole executive order just based on trying to undo California's climate change laws and policies, including our program to cut down on greenhouse gases, cap and trade, the emissions standards. Where are we with that, and how do we fight back?
Yeah. It's a lot to address the time we have left, but I'm so glad you brought that up, and thank you for always uplifting environmental injustices. I think it comes down, and we as a state have been at least trying to be a leader in making sure we're leading in clean energy, leading in clean air, and we need to stick with that. So there have been a lot of sort of federal Clean Air Act waivers that have been undone. That's kind of going to limit what we are doing financially to move towards clean air, move our, transportation sector towards clean air. And that's really, really scary. My day job, as you know, is I work, in policy and environmental policy in the legislature. And, there are legislators doing really good work, that to try to basically Trump-proof, for lack of a better word, right? Whether it's our ability to not have toxics in our body or to still have clean water. And so we have some of these Trump-proofing bills that are going through right now in the end of session, and we have to just keep doing that. And the thing I would add is our judicial system, right? Until then, whether it's climate issues or other issues, we have to just try to block as much as we can and slow down what Trump is doing, right? And I think that is a strategy we need, while he's in office too.
Meanwhile, the world's highest court says that polluters might be breaking international law if they don't protect the planet from an existential threat. They're talking about climate reparations. What do you think of that?
100%. I mean, a lot of these polluters, these CEOs are corporations, and you know how I feel about them. I mean, they've been extracting from our communities. I mean, taking from us, making us sicker, making us die younger. Right? I mean, this is about our life we're talking about here. And so 100%, I definitely think that we need to have these corporations that have profits way more than, we do to, one, pay for some of this. And I also think we need to stop giving them, these subsidies, right?
Yeah.
They have plenty of money that they're giving their shareholders, and how do we, make them pay for these harms? 100% is something I believe in.
Yeah, and that's, of course, the International Court of Justice, which is the UN's top court in The Hague. And there's been a lot of pushback. Some Republicans are foaming at the mouth about this. They don't like the idea of climate reparations. But when you think about how big corporate polluters like us, impose our pollution on other less fortunate countries, it's not fair. I mean, it's just not fair. We're going to pollute because you can't build a wall and cut off somebody's air. The air goes all around the planet, and we all have to breathe it.
No, it does. And one thing I want to uplift right now is that there is a bill in the state legislature, because California, has a huge carbon footprint, impacting our state and the global south and the rest of the world, called the Polluters Pay Superfund bill, that is doing pretty much exactly that. The bill actually has that 40%. I think it could arguably, it should be more, right, with the impact it's had on frontline Black and brown communities. 40% of those funds that we will get from polluters who have been extracting from us will go to vulnerable communities. So that bill, by the way, is active. It's a 2-year bill, and I hope folks can, follow along and support that as well.
60 seconds right here. Tell us how to follow you and your campaign and such.
Yeah, thank you. Yes, you could follow me, on Instagram and Facebook. I'm at Fatima Iqbal-Zubair, Iqbal-Zubair, running for state assembly in District 65, and really running on an intersectional economic, environmental, social justice platform. Really happy to say we're the top fundraiser in the race, and we talk about money, but I really want to be allies to every community, in my district, and really want to be, a politician, right, that uplifts working people and doesn't stand for billionaires and corporations. And so please follow along and, please fight, be in this fight with me. So thank you for having me on, Dominique.
Thank you so much for being with us once again, Fatima Iqbal-Zubair. We'll do it again soon.
Okay, have a great day.
And I know you guys are ready. Rapper Jay French always stirs the pot, always gets us talking, always gets us arguing. That's good stuff. That's coming up next after news, traffic, and sports, only right here.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has ordered the arrest of over 50 Democratic lawmakers who fled the state to block a GOP redistricting vote. Black Texas Democrat Congressman Al Green said he'll keep fighting.
We're taking a stand, and we're going to prevent